Annabelle Creation from 2017 got a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. But what do I think about it? What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be reviewing Annabelle Creation from 2017. Since The Conjuring Last Rites comes out this Friday, I'm going through and reviewing every movie in the Conjuring franchise and then doing some rankings and some reviews after. We're going to review these movies in the order of the timeline of the Conjuring universe. So today the second entry is Annabelle Creation. The first entry was The Nun, which we already did a video on that, so you can go check that out if you haven't seen it already. And here's a timeline of the Conjuring universe if you are interested or you want to see these movies in order for yourselves. So without further ado, let's get into the second movie on this timeline, Annabelle Creation. Directed by David F. Sandberg, and it stars Stephanie Sigman, Talitha Bateman, and Lulu Wilson. A doll maker and his wife, grieving the loss of their young daughter, open their home to a group of orphaned girls and a nun. Soon the children discover the terrifying secret behind the doll maker's creation, Annabelle. The film is drenched in a gothic haunted house vibe, and I love it. It works so well. It's got a creepy sense of, shadows lingering in every shot. You are totally stressed and tensed out, and it does start a little slower, but it does build into a nice, tense third act, which is pretty scary too as well, and it definitely works. And it's because of that vibe that really adds to it. You're out in the middle of nowhere, you have dim lighting, you're in a farmhouse, and it has Annabelle in it. It's pretty creepy. Talitha Bateman as Janice is a standout. You can't talk about this movie and not mention her. She does a great job. Also, Lulu Wilson as Linda plays such a good time at pulling at the heartstrings. We really do feel for her, and then even the two parents, they do a great job at showing their grief and showing how they did lose a daughter, and now they're not the same even this many years later. So the acting overall is pretty great, and they do have some substance to work with here. So overall, it works great. This is definitely a slow burn. At the end, it gets very tense and very scary, but at first, it is a little bit slow. And it does, it has some jump scares, leans on jump scares, but they work. I feel like they're carefully placed and not just thrown in there with some loud cues and things like that. But it definitely works. There's a lot of lingering silence, some long shots, some shadows before we actually do get that jump scare. And there's some pretty brutal moments with some demonic imagery and things of that sort. But it never goes into gore. It's not very gory. It's more symbolically demonic. But this is absolutely worth a watch. This is one of the strongest entries in the Conjuring universe. I know some people even think it's the best. Not personally me. You guys will find that out in a future video. But I do really enjoy this movie. I guess I am giving that away. So it might not be my favorite. I got to keep that a secret. The Nun, I said, does not connect to the franchise. Like, it does, but not in a way that it forces you to want to watch it. But this one actually is pretty interesting to watch. Annabelle be created, because she's a pretty central character in the other movies in the universe, and it's pretty cool to see how she was created, and the lore that was created to make her is pretty sick. Now, there will be spoilers from this point on, so if you have not seen Annabelle Creation, I would recommend you go watch it. If not, proceed with caution. Honestly, I feel like the performances across the board were pretty strong. I don't think anyone had a weak performance. And there's definitely some strong performances in there, like we talked about earlier. So, across the board, a great cast. Like, nothing to complain about, really. I love some scares. I think one of the best scenes in this whole entire movie was when Janice is on the little thing that allows her to go up and down the stairs because she has polio at the time. That's one of the best scenes, when she's going down the stairs and then, she can't get this thing to work. It's malfunctioning, and then the whole time they're Annabelle and her goons are after her, and it's just a terrifying situation to be in, and it's super tense. Like, just imagine being there. And also later when she's thrown into the barn and ultimately possessed, that's a pretty terrifying scene as well. Really, a lot of these, in the well, when Linda's trying to get rid of Annabelle, and she throws it in the well, and it tries to come back up, and then later finds it back in the house. So super terrifying. Everything about it pretty scary. Even later on, when a pretty terrifying scene during broad daylight, which I noticed, like, this is midday and Annabelle strikes and kills the person who created her, the dad of this film. So that was pretty scary because it was like, wow, that just happened in the middle of the day. Like, it was bright outside. The door opened and it was bright. So that was just kind of, a different than what we usually see. We usually see demonic things happening at night in movies, but here, they weren't afraid to throw in a kill, and a big kill at that, in the middle of the day. I mean, this kind of hints at, loss, depression, things like that. Dealing with family trauma and that type of stuff, and even kind of has like a Frankenstein kind of feel with the way that he built this doll to talk to his dead daughter, and then the doll ended up being demonic and killing him. So it's kind of like a little Frankenstein situation. I thought that was interesting. And I also really loved the lore. I love lore, especially when it's done well. And The Nun wasn't done so much good. Say it wasn't very good. But here in Annabelle Creation, immaculate lore building. I think it is so great, especially after looking at the original Annabelle movie, which I think is crazy that I put that as my last place Annabelle movie. The original one is the worst one in my opinion. But I'm still giving stuff away from my later videos. So how they're able to build lore, because if you really think of it, this is set up to be terrible. This movie should not be good. It's a prequel to a prequel. So, we have Annabelle as a prequel to The Conjuring, and then we have Annabelle Creation, which is the prequel to Annabelle, which is the prequel to The Conjuring. So we have a prequel to a prequel, and it's great, and it works very well. So it's super interesting that they're able to do that with building lore all the way back to, this girl, Annabelle, who tragically, she get hit by that truck, and then the dad builds her a doll to talk to her from beyond the grave, and then ends up being possessed. Annabelle, and then we see Janice going through all this lore, and then we learn that later she's the one in Annabelle who actually, in the original Annabelle movie, that kills her parents because she was adopted. Her name's not actually Annabelle, it's actually Janice. So there's a lot of lore there. It goes super deep, below the surface, iceberg type of lore. And that works super well to me. That's probably my favorite aspect about the movie, is the lore. If I had to pick a favorite moment, I'm probably going with that super scary scene that I was talking about earlier, when she's trying to go down the stairs with the little machine, it's not working, she had never seatbelt on, and then, that whole entire sequence is pretty great, and then she gets thrown over the rail. Terrifying. My least favorite aspect is probably the wife. She was kind of barely, I don't even know how much screen time she had, but she was barely written into this movie. It felt like she was non-existent, which is cool. I know, I get it. She's like that grieving, in the background type of woman where it's like she doesn't even want to live anymore. She's just around and things like that. But, it was just kind of strange. I felt like they could have wrote her in a little differently, maybe had her a little more substance to that character, but really nothing. I feel like she was really just there, really in the second half of the movie, just to give us lore, give us information that we need to understand Annabelle and things like that. It holds up very well today, I think. I think that, what are we, 2017, almost 10 years later, it still works very well. It was created in the age of the jump scare, but since there were such high quality jump scares and perfectly placed and timed out, that this still works today, and it can still scare you a little bit as well. The franchise, it's definitely in the top half for sure. That's not even a hot take. That's definitely well known. It got the 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. Haunted house movies usually don't get that high of a score, so it's pretty impressive. Overall, this movie's super enjoyable, and I give it 4 out of 5 pickles. That's right, I would definitely put my pickle in it, but hopefully Annabelle is not watching. Let me know what y'all think about this movie down below. What do you rank it? Let me know if you enjoy the lore. What do you think about this movie? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Please drop a like and hit that subscribe button, or you will find out Annabelle is locked up in your closet. Thank y'all so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Peace!